guys, this is Peter from MyJewelryBunch.com, and today what we're going to do is we're going to restring a pearl bracelet. This particular bracelet is going to be about 7.5 inches long, and the things we're going to need are the length of pearls, and of course depending on the size of the pearl will depend on how many pearls you're going to need. You're going to need the pearls, you're going to need a clasp, so let's take a look at that clasp. We've got a nice gold clasp here. Get that in focus for you. And we're going to need some string. This string is E string. Pearl string comes in E, D, F, some other sizes depending on the size of the hole in the pearl that you're going to be stringing. We're going to have 1 or 2 pair of tweezers that you're going to need. You're going to need, in this case, let me point here, we've got some French wire we're going to put around the coil or around the clasp. I'll show you how to do that. And a stringing needle. Not necessary, but you can put some like super glue on the end of a piece of string to harden it up, but it's kind of messy and it gets a little awkward. A pearl needle has a loop at the end, and if I can focus in on that, and it's long enough to go through and carry the string through. With that said, we're going to get started on this. Remember that when you're stringing and knotting in between each pearl, you're going to want at least 4 to 5 times the length of string than the final product would be because of the knots. You're going to end up with some leftover string, but that's okay. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take our string and we want to even it out. So you're going to get both ends of the string. I can get it in camera here. And get them together. And we're going to take our needle and we're going to thread the string through the needle. If I can get that there. If my hands are in the way, I apologize, but there's a loop in the needle. We're going to get that string through the loop, and then we're going to pull it out until we're about in the middle. This a little off camera here, excuse me. Okay, so now my string is in the middle of the needle. I'm going to pull that a little taut so that the needle kind of gets in there. One of the little tricks that people don't realize is that you should knot on every string. So I'm actually going to come through the first pearl and I'm going to go through the needle, put that through there, and because we're going to use the clasp, I'm going to pull that apart here just so we have. What I want to do with the clasp is actually take some of our French wire and we're going to trim that a little bit. And I'm just going to use my scissors to trim that just to give us a little bit of a bead. This over here. So what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling the pearl along the string, but I'm not going to go very far. I'm going to knot the end of the string. This is pretty simple. I'm just going to knot that. Make sure you get both ends like that. And then you'll see that there's a little knot in there. And we're going to bring that pearl all the way to the end. So the pearl is at that knot. I'm kind of hoping that this string is going to be thin enough. If not, we're going to grab some more string. The next thing I do is I take my little French wire and I'm going to come through the tubing of the French wire. And then I'm going to get this out of the way. And I'm going to pull that French wire down to where the pearl is. Now that little French wire there is going to make a nice little loop around the clasp. And I'm going to grab the end of the clasp and we're going to go through there, just like that. And I'm going to pull the clasp through the string, or the string through the clasp. And you'll see that the French wire is nice and tight against the pearl. We've gone through the clasp, and now I'm going to restring and rethread the needle through this pearl and come out where that knot is, if I can. And I'm going to gently pull the string all the way through, making sure it's not tangled. And you'll see here that with this little French wire and the clasp on one side. And now I'm going to pull that tightly, and you'll see the French wire will make just a gentle loop around, giving a nice decorative piece to the end of the clasp. And that little decoration there kind of makes the pearl bracelet look nice. With that done, we're going to go to the next pearl, and we're going to come through. Now we already have a knot on one side, so I'm just going to come through the pearl once we find the hole. Get that started in there. And now we're going to pull that string through so that we have it like this. And then this is the tricky part. Now we have to knot this pearl. What you're going to do is you're going to take your string. Let's see if I can get this laid out. You're going to take your string. You're going to make a loop around your hand. Bring the needle through, just like you were going to tie a knot. And then kind of hold the string away from your beads, or your pearls in this case, and we're going to pull that taut so that we have it about like this. And now I grab a pair of needle nose pliers, or tweezers, and these should be fine tweezers, the smaller you can get, and we're just going to kind of pull that tight so that we're holding the pearl just like that with the string. Now I'm going to grab my end of the string and I'm going to pull that in ever so gently to make a knot. Not going to tighten it all the way, just enough to hold it. Separate these two and then tighten it down. And by doing that now, I've created a nice tight knot at the end of the pearl. Now, by the knot, the purpose of the knot is to keep the pearls from rubbing against each other, and we don't want the pearls to bang against each other because it'll ruin the finish of each of the pearls. We're going to continue doing this over and over until we get all of the pearls strung just before we get to the last pearl. So again, I'm going to hold that through, pull my string tight to the knot. I'm going to loop over, make a loop knot. I'm grabbing the inside of the string next to the pearl, holding that tight, and then we're going to tighten the string up just like so to make a nice tight knot against that third pearl. There we go. Go on to the next. Holding the pearl up against the knot, make a loop, come in through the loop, prepare for my knot again, grab that, and if you're not holding that tight, just be careful. You can always adjust a little bit. Pull your tweezers out, grab each end, and pull the knot taut. Now if these little stragglers here are getting in your way, you can trim them, but don't trim them all the way. So you can see I'm just going to kind of trim those a little shorter so I don't confuse myself with those. And we're going to continue again until we have one pearl left. So through the pearl, pull the string all the way to the knot, loop around, take your needle, come through the loop, grab the string, grab the pearls by the string, or the string by next to the pearl, and then taut or tighten up the rest of the length of line until you can get it tight, just like so. Again, you're going to do this over and over and over until you get to the full length less one pearl. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is I'm measuring my bracelet out, and you're going to see that with the clasp we're about 7.5 inches now. So I have one more pearl to add to this, but we're not going to knot it like we did the other ones. What we're going to do is basically what we did before with the first pearl. We're going to actually come through the hole. I'm going to pull that down to the knot so that it's there. And now I'm going to take another piece of French wire and we're going to trim this up a little bit so that we have a piece that'll work on the end. Now you're going to have to be very careful with the French wire because it's very delicate. So I'm going to show you how I pick it up. I basically take my needle and I come through the hole of the French wire so it's on the needle, and then I just gently push it down to the pearl so that it's right at the pearl. I'm going to take the other end of the clasp, and there's a ring here, that's where it's going to go. We're going to go through that and through the French wire, and now we're going to come back through this pearl just like we did the first one, and we're going to go through that, get it in there. It might help to have a little extra string at the end of that pearl on the inner side. I'm pushing my needle through until it comes out the other side. And there it is. You'll see my needle's right here. I'm going to grab that. Without tangling up our string, I'm going to pull that through. Now this can be a little tricky, but if it gives you a little pressure, don't worry. What you want to be conscious of is that you're not tangling up at the end of the string, because you'll see it starts to curl. So what you want to do is make sure that you have some kind of a separation, just like that. So as you pull your string through, you see how I'm pulling it through, the end of the string where the clasp is attached to doesn't stay curled. And that's going to happen because the string is naturally going to want to twist around. But we want to keep that as loose as possible. If I can do this, pull that through at the same time. This is where it gets a little tricky. I'm just going to gently pull that without knotting up. Don't worry if it does that, just keep it taut. Make sure you get this nice and straight, and then pull. You can see I'm kind of doing this. I'm pulling, and I'm trying to get that French wire to go through that clasp without kinking, just like so, and then pull the string as tight as I can without breaking anything. And if you have to grab one string at a time, don't worry about that. Just pull until you get what you need out of it. So there we go. We got our French wire around the string at the end, and that gives us our decoration. I'm going to pull a little tighter just to get our knot at the end. Yeah, not working good. And when we do that, I'm going to take my string, clip it so that I have an end like this, and now I'm going to wrap it around the last pearl, and then just tie a knot. If you can do this carefully, you'll be good. You have to come in and tie a knot. So there's our knot here at the end, our clasp with our French wire at this end, the tongue for the clasp with the French wire at that end, and here's our straggler string from the beginning. The next step is to apply a little epoxy to these. I use a little hypo cement, so GS hypo cement. I use this for watch crystals and this stuff. That way it doesn't adhere to the pearl, but it'll hold the string so the string won't come undone. So what we're going to do is expose that knot, put a little drop so that the pearl string is a little saturated here. I'm going to do the same on this side so that the string is saturated at the knot. Cover your cement so it doesn't dry out. Let that dry for about 15 minutes. And once it's dry, you can trim the ends. Now, I'm only doing this as a test piece, so I'm going to trim the ends right now. What you do is you hold your pearls and you expose the string as best as you can. You're going to trim as close to the knot, but not right at the knot. So the knot stays tight and glued, and we're going to do the same here. And get my itty bitty scissors in there. And if you get a little straggler there, you can trim that off. And there you have it. Our pearl bracelet, which is a nice 7.5 inches. For all practical purposes, this string's a little bit too big for these pearls, so I'm going to tear this down and restring it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped. And keep practicing, guys. If you have any questions, fire off a message to me because I'll be glad to help you out. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.